Quiet down, quiet in the back. It's time to tap into fantasy. Welcome to Tap Into Fantasy, the podcast with a professional fantasy mind and an amateur beer palate. I'm Lance Gandy. You can find me on X at LG_fantasy. Let's raise a glass, fellow fantasy nerds. May the best drafts of your past be the worst of your future. Let's tap in. I want to remind you to please subscribe and review this podcast on the platform you're using. It would help this podcast find new fantasy and beer bros like you, and I would be eternally grateful. Okay, so it's time for the opening draft where I open a beer I usually haven't tried and make some insightful and maybe some dim-witted comments on it throughout the episode. As I've said in previous episodes, I have, let's say, a very incompetent beer palate. I'm working on it. Give me a break. The first few episodes are beers I have always wanted to try, but I want listeners to be able to suggest new beers that I pop open on future episodes. I've already had a few, and I'm having them shipped here as we speak. So please write in about any beer you want to see or hear me review. You can email the show at tapintofantasy@gmail.com with the beer and a little explanation of why my taste buds need to experience this particular one. The best explanations will be chosen, out you out on the show. Then I'll rank each one on the big beer board on the website. All right, so last episode I tried the monk beer, the Trappist's Roquefort 10, maybe. That's how you say it. I'm not sure. It's the third beer I've tried, and I ranked it second, right behind the 2024 Goose Island Bourbon County brand stout. I gave it a pour score of these monks are heaven sent, like the syrupy nectar of the gods, but it packs a heavy punch. Give it the respect it deserves. Okay, so I'll love you forever if you could friend me on Untapped. The name is Tap Into Fantasy if you want to be beer bros forever with me. Heart. Okay, so this episode I'll be opening a Delirium Tremens. Like the Trappist beer, it is from Belgium. So I googled this thing, and apparently Delirium Tremens is a life-threatening form of alcohol withdrawal with a rapid onset of confusion. Not sure if the beer came first or the word, but that's pretty punk rock to have a beer named after life-threatening alcohol withdrawal. So this is a Belgian strong golden ale with a rating of 3.85 on Untapped. Definitely respectable. It's actually a little higher than the Wine Corbinian I tried in episode 2. Untapped bros are super stingy with their rankings. Like, if a beer was literally touched by God, they'd be like, yeah, it's a decent try on a Belgian strong ale, but it lacks something. I tried to look up how to say this brewery's name, but I kind of just want to call it the sound you make when you accidentally sneeze. Brewery. All right, I'm going to try this. Hiya Brewery. Bless me. Okay, so let's see what the Sneeze Brewery's website says about this beer. Feels like the sound shot of alcohol is igniting the mouth. In reality, the tongue and palate are warmed. The taste is characterized by its roundness. The aftertaste is strong, long-lasting, and dry bitter. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a good time to me. Let's do one of my favorite segments and read some funny Untapped reviews. Okay, so this first one was actually in Danish, so not sure on the translation. I don't know if it's 100%, but it just says, it tastes a bit like fish. Like, all right, I make fun of my palate, but that guy has some problems. I actually get some bubblegum from like a lot of wheat beers, which can be weird, but this guy gets straight up fish. And he still gave it 3.25 stars. Imagine giving fishy beer an above average score. Okay, next review. Gonna smash some nachos now. Jesus, this is strong. That guy had too many Tremens. This sounds like a Friday night in college, and afterwards you just want the greasiest nachos and the hole in the wall by campus. Ah, memories. All right, well, let's pour this thing and see what is up. I I actually have a golf invitational huge goblet to pour this bad boy in. Trusty Asheville opener. It has a nice pink elephant on the bottle. So let's go ahead and open it up. It's already fizzing. Caught it though. Nothing on the lap. Okay. I think we're safe now. It's safe to pour. That was an amateur pour. My apologies for people on YouTube. That was lackluster. All right, it's going better now. It's going better. It looks very, very fizzy. Very fizzy. It's the lightest in color of the beers I've had so far, I think. You can't see through it, really, through this glass at least, but it's definitely kind of dirty blonde. All right. Well, that's enough of that. Let's take a sip. Wow. Yeah, that definitely punches you in the mouth. It's a Belgian strong ass ale. No fish in the taste, thank God. I'm getting kind of a warm spice test. It is very fizzy. It tastes like something to get you through a terrible Browns Jets Thursday night game in week 9, and it would go well with those greasy nachos, of course. Well, let's go over a few things before all the fantasy talk. So please go check out the website at tapintofantasy.com. My best ball rankings are uploadable to DraftKings. They're specifically for DraftKings. So make sure to download it as a CSV file, and you can upload it to DK to have my rankings as your default. I just uploaded these on Tuesday, but I'll have to readjust with all the Rashee Rice and Jordan Addison suspensions looming. Some people just like to use ADP rankings on DK, but keep my rankings on the side. So I have a download for those people as well that keep the positions separated. I also have my PPR rankings that are downloadable on the site. I am updating along with some commentary on most players, things like that. It's sort of a draft companion. I think you'll really like it if you use it during the draft. So that's available now also. All right, I want to let you know that this episode is powered by Dubby Energy. Clean energy to keep your draft sharp, even with a hangover. Use promo code TAPINTOFANTASY for 10% off at checkout. Happy pours, happy scores. Okay, so let's get into our main topic this episode, the wide receivers I love for 2025. And maybe a bonus one I'm fading. Ayah! Sorry. That means I need a drink, and that means you do too. This beer isn't the all-world beer status like the ones that I've tried pretty much so far. Like I've had 2 of the top 50 beers on Untapped in my first 3 episodes. This one's a little lower on the scale. It's good. It's yeah, like I said, this would be a perfect Thursday night slog of a game beer. Okay, so for wide receivers, I'm sure you didn't see this one coming. Jamar Chase is someone I'm high on this year. I'm just kidding. Let's go a little further down the list. Yes, Trevor Lawrence looks like he starred in Rocket Power in the early 2000s, but he's going to let Brian Thomas Jr. eat. And by eat, I mean catch a lot of passes, because eating doesn't score you fantasy points. So in ESPN ADP, Brian Thomas Jr. is 9th among wide receivers at the time of this recording. As a rookie last year, he finished as the wide receiver 4, with Mac freaking Jones as his QB for most of the year. After his bye week in week 12, he got the old rookie bye week bump and was wide receiver 2 for the rest of the season. You're telling me he does all this with Mac freaking Jones in his rookie year with a dysfunctional coaching staff, and this year he slides all the way down to wide receiver 9? He gets Liam Cohen, the best play caller in the league last year, a healthy Trevor Lawrence, a better supporting cast to take the coverage off of him. Word on the street is Travis Hunter has been playing more defense in camp than we originally thought he would. He's being drafted right now behind A.J. Brown and Malik Neighbors. Look, A.J. Brown finished as wide receiver 12 in points per game last year, wide receiver 20 overall, and has played in every game in a season twice in his 6 years as a pro. So a definite injury risk there. Malik Neighbors has the hardest schedule in the NFL this year and is getting thrown to by the ghost of Russell Wilson or a very green rookie in Jackson Dart. It's not out of the question for Brian Thomas to finish as wide receiver 1, but I'm hedging and I have him ranked at wide receiver 7. Look, that should easily be high enough for you to draft him, so do it. Okay, you can dream about Brian Thomas highlight catches as I take a sip of this very fizzy beer. Okay, let's say this together. Tetaroa McMillan, wide receiver for the Panthers. So I called out Bryce Young in the QBs to draft episode last week, and one of the reasons is because he balled out in the last 7 games. Do you know who his top target was in those games? 75-year-old Adam Thielen. He was wide receiver 13 in those games. He'll now be 76 years old. Do you think he's going to continue to be the wide receiver 1 for Carolina? Look, in comes the 22-year-old, 6'4" receiver, 8th pick in the draft, Tetaroa McMillan. Is this mega prospect worse than a 75-year-old Adam Thielen? I kind of don't think so. He has top 15 upside on the season, and he's currently being drafted in redraft leagues at wide receiver 34. I like him in best ball too, even though he goes as wide receiver 26 on DraftKings right now. He doesn't have any real competition for targets. That's why they took him so high in the draft. Xavier Legette has never been a route runner, and I don't think he ever will be. So he's more the design some easy touches for him so he can get some yards after the catch kind of guy. I see him as kind of a Marvin Mims type. Adam Thielen, in reality, is going to be 35, and I think he'll slowly get phased out of the offense. I even like Jalen Coker, but he's an undrafted free agent pickup who could be decently useful. He's not a target hog. Even the running backs don't catch many passes. Like Chuba Hubbard, less than 3 passes a game he caught, and his backup Rico Dowdle caught even less than that as a starter for the Cowboys. Hell, McMillan could walk into a 25% or more target share in his rookie year. That would be higher than Brock Bowers and Jackson Smith-Jigba last year. Defense is still a party pooper, so they'll probably throw around the same rate they did last year, around 59%, which was 9th on the year. They also have one of the easier schedules in the NFL for wide receivers, which definitely helps. Look, it's time to tet up or shut up. See what I did there? I'm proud of myself. I deserve a drink. All right. It's time to give the chicks and dudes what they want. Let's be real here. A little late round action. This is a PPR special, and standard and half PPR, this bet would be a little shaky. But Josh Downs from the Colts is going as wide receiver 58 in ESPN redraft. In smaller leagues, with maybe 10 teams or so, you could probably get him with the last pick in your draft. I have him currently as wide receiver 44, but that bet is with Daniel Jones as his QB. There was a report today saying Anthony Richardson is fully healthy from his shoulder issue. It also said the Colts haven't evaluated him in person, so I'm sort of taking it with a grain of salt. I still think Daniel Jones starts the most games for the Colts this year, but look, no matter who starts at QB, Josh Downs is just a low-key baller. Like Matt Harmon, very respected voice for wide receivers and their evaluations in the industry. He has Downs as 90th percentile success rate versus man coverage, 92nd versus zone coverage, and 2nd versus press. Like, that's just some ridiculous numbers. The hope is he graduates to be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets because he's almost been exclusively out of the slot in 3 wide receiver sets for most of his career. I think that's a little sizist. I think they just see that he's a smaller guy, so they put him in the slot. But honestly, he could easily play outside with those success rate numbers. I mean, he could be a PPR scam on this team. When he was on the field, Downs was targeted on 0.9% of his routes, 2nd in the NFL. He missed the first 2 games of last year due to a high ankle sprain, which is notorious for keeping players below 100%, even when they play for a month or even longer than that. In spite of that, he was 11th in PFF receiving grade, just ahead of 2 random dudes named Lad McConkey and Jamar Chase. The guy's just good, and I want to bet on talent late in the draft. Okay, so I'm not going to go into a whole big spiel about it because he just made headlines for wanting a new contract or to be traded. But if everything gets ironed out before the season, I would be sky high on Juwan Jennings of the 49ers. Just keep an eye on the news. But he could easily be their wide receiver 1 along with George Kittle. Okay, so thanks for behaving, all podcast. And as a treat here, I have one receiver I'm fading in 2025. I hinted at it earlier in the episode, But Malik Neighbors from the Giants, he's just going too high. Like in ESPN ADP, he's going as wide receiver 6. On DraftKings, wide receiver 5. Do we really think in 25 Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart can support a wide receiver 6? Look, I think Neighbors is an elite talent, but this Giants coaching staff is almost assuredly getting axed after this season. Russell Wilson takes too many sacks, and his offensive line is ranked 28th going into the season. Jackson Dart, also not an elite processor and can take too many sacks. So if he ends up starting, look, it went very badly for Russell Wilson and probably middle neighbors for him to start. And he will also get just smacked around behind that line. Beyond that, they literally have the hardest schedule in the NFL for wide receivers. Like, how is this not a recipe for disaster? I see OBJ losing fights to the kicking net levels of dysfunction midway through the season for the Giants. I have him as wide receiver 9 right now, and that's just hedging. I could see him lower than that, so I won't be drafting much, if any, of Neighbors this year. Okay, well, I hope you got something useful out of this best ball breakdown. This Delirium beer. I'm going to take one more sip and make my conclusion on it. It definitely packs a punch. It's almost like a champagne beer. It's so carbonated and fizzy. It's almost like just a more carbonated, strong blonde is really what it is. I think this is going right behind the Wine Corbinian at number 4 on the list. That's last, but I like the beer. I've just had some real bangers on this show so far. Okay, but that's going to do it for this 4th episode of Tap Into Fantasy. If you liked what you heard, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps the show find other degenerates like you. Hit me up on X at LG_fantasy. Thanks for tapping in, y'all. And until next time, happy pours, happy scores.